Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to this fourth and final presentation on bullying. For those of you who don't remember, my name is Jennifer, and we're going to begin this afternoon with a little game of Jeopardy! You've all seen the game of Jeopardy!, right? What we're going to do now is I'm going to divide you into two teams. I'm going to ask you review questions from our last 3 lessons. We're going to go back and forth from Team 1 to Team 2, with each correct answer scoring a point. If the team whose turn it is does not know the answer, the other team can steal to get the point. At the end of the game, there will be a small prize rewarded for the team that has the most points. For team number 1, here's your first question. This is unwelcome, aggressive, and negative behaviors and/or actions exhibited onto a person by another.
What is bullying?
That is correct. 1 point for team 1. Team number 2. First question. This percentage of teens in grades 6 to 12 report having been bullied.
What is 30%?
Ooh, that is incorrect. Team number 1. Do you know the correct answer?
What is 20%?
There's another point for team number 1. All right, team number 1, your next question. This is a person who witnesses bullying but doesn't do anything about it.
What is a bystander?
Correct. Team 2. This decreases bullying by up to 25%.
What is a school-based bullying prevention program?
That's correct. Team number 1. These are the 4 types of bullying.
What are social, cyber, physical, and verbal?
That is correct. We're back to team number 2. This number of kids stay home every day because they fear being bullied.
What is 160,000?
Correct. Very good. Team number 1. This percentage of bullying ends when a peer intervenes.
What is 50%?
That is correct. Team number 2. A critical aspect of bullying includes this.
What is a real or perceived power imbalance?
Again, that answer is correct. Very good. Team number 1. This type of bullying includes emotionally harassing individuals through the use of various forms of technology.
What is cyberbullying?
Yes, that is right. And our last question for team number 2. These are 2 ways that you can be more than a bystander.
What is be their friend or tell a trusted adult?
Correct. So at the end of the game, we have team 1 with 6 points and team 2 with 4 points. So team 1, here's your prize. Thank you for participating. Now before we begin, I'm going to point out a few things to you. First, there are refreshments in the back of the room, so feel free to help yourself at any time. Next, the restrooms are down the hall and to the right. Finally, I want to briefly cover our outline for today. In today's lesson, we are going to look at the consequences of bullying, some statistics on bullying, and what to do when you encounter this type of behavior. So now we're going to get started with today's lesson. The following are real-life situations where teens were bullied to the point that they could not find a way to cope with it anymore. Our first story is about Jessica Logan. When Jessica and her boyfriend broke up, he sent a nude photo of her to everyone at school. She was cruelly harassed for months at school and called many vicious names. Her grades dropped and she started skipping school. She told her story on a local television station so that no one else would have to go through this. On July 3, 2008, she attended a funeral for a boy who committed suicide. She then went home and killed herself. Her mother found her hanging in a closet with her telephone by her feet. Angel Green's body was found hanging from a tree at the local bus stop. Her suicide note ended with, "It's bullying that killed me. Please get justice." Her mother has been working on getting a bill passed that will make schools more accountable for bullying. It would also require that staff receive training on how to deal with bullying situations. Green's note also states, "You told me so much that I believed it." She wrote on a piece of notebook paper, "And I was stupid for doing that. Every morning, day, night, I look in the mirror and cry, and replay the harmful words in my head." David Mullick was a sophomore at Alamo Heights High School in Texas. He was a fitness enthusiast, a Spurs fan, and an Eagle Scout. After months of relentless bullying online, he hung himself in his family's backyard. According to his brother, he had received messages from up to 10 bullies with comments that put him down and insulted him. His brother also stated, "In today's age, bullies don't push you into lockers. They don't tell their victims to meet them behind the school's dumpster after school. They cower behind usernames and fake profiles from miles away, constantly berating and abusing good, innocent people." Now let's look at some statistics about bullying. Every day, 160,000 students skip school for fear of being bullied. Bullying victims are between 2 to 9 times more likely to consider suicide than those that are not bullied. Suicide is the third leading cause of death among young people, resulting in about 4,400 deaths per year. More than 14% of high school students have considered suicide, and about 7% have attempted it. Now that we've looked at these statistics and some real-life scenarios, you might be thinking to yourself, what can we do about it? We're going to look at school leadership, teachers, parents, and teens. As school leadership, the most important thing is to practice what you preach, listen before talking, and reflect before acting. When your teachers or students come to you with a problem, make sure that you're there to listen. Assess the extent of the problem. Talk to students, parents, and staff to find out what is really happening. Develop a school-wide code of conduct. Train and empower teachers and students. Increase adult supervision in those places where bullying is most likely to take place. Conduct bullying prevention activities. As an educator, perceived support from teachers is associated with lower rates of bullying. Bullying can be hindered with teacher support, the way your class is structured, and if discipline is maintained. The school should have definite rules and consequences for bullying behavior. Each state has its own rules and regulations regarding bullying. When I looked up Michigan's rules, it said that each school is responsible for making their own set of rules and regulations regarding bullying. Make sure that teachers and principal know what those rules are. What can teachers do? Create a safe and supportive environment. Set a tone of respect in your classroom. If you're not being respectful to the students, how can you expect the students to be respectful to each other? Monitor hot spots in the building. If there's a certain location that you know bullying is more likely taking place, have more adult supervision in these spots. Manage your classroom to prevent bullying. Make sure that the students know what your expectations are, and follow through with consequences when those expectations are broken. Stop bullying on the spot when you see it. It is very important to intervene immediately. Find out what happened. Support both kids involved, as well as any bystanders. What can you do as parents? The most important thing that you can do is listen to your child. Put away your cell phone, put down your book, turn off the TV, and listen to what they're saying to you. Teach kids to solve problems without violence. Teach them to stand up for themselves. Ask your child about their day and really listen to what they're saying. Set a good example. Again, if you have bullying behavior, then your kids are probably going to copy that behavior with other friends. Talk. You are your child's advocate. Talk to your child's teacher. If this doesn't seem to solve the problem, then go to the principal. Keep advocating for your child. If the teacher won't help, keep talking to those in higher authority until someone will listen to you and deal with the problem. Teach your child nonviolent ways to deal with a bully. Help them to learn to stand up for themselves. Help your child to act with self-confidence. Act. Support bully prevention programs at your school. There was a time when my son's friend was being bullied, and we went to the principal's office with an idea to raise money to bring in a bullying speaker. Our idea was to have a talent show and use the money from that in order to pay the person to do the program. Little did we know, the school had a special fund set aside for these kinds of programs, so we didn't even have to raise the money. So you never know what your school has available until you check. Involve your child in activities outside of school. For teens, I have a video that we're now going to watch.
tried a little harder, honey. You might as well just jog to school. Get your life together. Here's Mom Jeans.
Imagine a world where bullying isn't considered a normal part of childhood. A world where I'm not afraid to go to school, to speak out, to be myself. A world where I'm not afraid to be caught alone. You have the power to stop the bullying. Speak out. Speak up. Educate. Find out what to look for and how you can make a difference. Bullying is not kids being kids. It's not about good homes or bad homes. It's not a normal part of growing up. Did you know that a bully will stop his or her behavior in 10 seconds when their peers speak up? I shouldn't have to be afraid to get on the school bus, to turn on my computer, or walk to my locker. Use your voice. We have the power to stop bullying.
Now that we've watched that video, let's look at some specific ways that teens can deal with the problem of bullying. If you are the one being bullied, stand up for yourself or just walk away. Go to a trusted adult and let them know what's happening. Whether it's your parent, teacher, or principal of your school, find someone that you can talk to. Stay away from places where the bullying happens. If you know there's a certain spot in school that teachers don't come to, that you're being bullied, don't go to that spot. Stay near adults and other kids. And most importantly, keep your parents in the loop on what's going on. Have open, honest communication with them. Stand up for others. If you have a friend that's being bullied, or even you just see someone being bullied, talk to a parent, teacher, or another adult that you trust about what's happening. Sometimes the bullied child may be fearful to go to an adult, and they will need your help. Be kind to the kid that's being bullied. Tell the bully to stop. Remember that over half of bullying stops within 10 seconds when a peer intervenes. Get involved. Find out about when and where bullying happens at your school. Share ideas with your teacher or your principal on ways that this can be stopped and things that can be done. Talk to your principal about getting involved. Be a role model for younger students. Write a blog, letter, or a tweet about bullying. I really like this quote. Strong people stand up for themselves, but stronger people stand up for others. Now I'm going to tell you a story about a boy named Kyle. I'm going to read this so that I don't forget any of the important details. One day, when I was a freshman in high school, I saw a kid from my class walking home from school. His name was Kyle. It looked like he was carrying all of his books. I thought to myself, why would anyone bring home all his books on a Friday? He must really be a nerd. I had quite a weekend planned, parties and a football game with my friend tomorrow afternoon. So I shrugged my shoulders and went on. As I was walking, I saw a bunch of kids running toward him. They ran at him, knocking all of his books out of his arms and tripping him so he landed in the dirt. His glasses went flying, and I saw them land in the grass about 10 feet from him. He looked up, and I saw this terrible sadness in his eyes. My heart went out to him, so I jogged over to him, and as he crawled around looking for his glasses, I saw a tear in his eye. As I handed him his glasses, I said, "Those guys are jerks. They really should get lives." He looked at me and said, "Hey, thanks." There was a big smile on his face. It was one of those smiles that showed real gratitude. I helped him pick up his books and asked him where he lived. As it turned out, he lived near me, so I asked him why I had never seen him before. He said he had gone to private school before now. I would have never hung out with someone from private school before. We talked all the way home, and I carried his books. He turned out to be a pretty cool kid. I asked him if he wanted to play football on Saturday with me and my friends. He said yes. We hung out all weekend, and the more I got to know Kyle, the more I liked him, and my friends thought the same of him. Monday morning came, and there was Kyle with a huge stack of books again. I stopped him and said, "Darn, boy, you are going to really build some serious muscles with that pile of books every day." He just laughed and handed me half the books. Over the next 4 years, Kyle and I became best friends. When we were seniors, we began to think about going to college. Kyle decided on Georgetown, and I was going to Duke. I knew that we would always be friends, that the smiles would never stop. He was going to be a doctor, and I was going for business on a football scholarship. Kyle was valedictorian of our class. I teased him all the time about being a nerd. He had to prepare a speech for graduation. I was so glad it wasn't me having to get up there and speak. Graduation day, I saw Kyle. He looked great. He was one of those guys that really found himself during high school. He filled out and actually looked good in glasses. He had more dates than me, and the girls loved him. Boy, sometimes I was jealous. Today was one of those days. I could see that he was nervous about his speech, so I smacked him on the back and said, "Hey, big guy, you'll be great." He looked at me with one of those looks, the really grateful one, and smiled. "Thanks," he said. As he started his speech, he cleared his throat. Graduation is a time to thank those who helped you make it through those tough years. Your parents, your teachers, your siblings, maybe a coach, but mostly your friends. I am here to tell all of you that being a friend to someone is the best gift you can give them. I'm going to tell you a story. I just looked at my friend with disbelief as he told the story of the first day we met. He had planned to kill himself over the weekend. He talked of how he had cleaned out his locker so that his mom wouldn't have to do it later, and was carrying his stuff home. He looked hard at me and gave a little smile. Thankfully, I was saved. My friend saved me from doing the unspeakable. I heard the gasps go through the crowd as this handsome, popular boy told us all about his weakest moment. I saw his mom and dad looking at me and smiling that same grateful smile. Not until that moment did I realize its depth. Never underestimate the power of your actions. With one small gesture, you can change a person's life, for better or for worse. That concludes our presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Before we end our time together today, we're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to divide you into groups of 4. I'm going to pass out paper, markers, pens, and pencils. I'm going to have each team complete a greatest American hero that would deal with bullying. And on the back of it, I want you to come up with a list of 5 to 10 reasons of how you can prevent bullying. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to complete this in your group, and then I'm going to have one person from each group come up to the front, share their picture, and their ways to prevent bullying. Alright guys, that's been about 10 minutes. Now we're going to have one person from each group come up and share their drawing with us. Who's going to be brave and volunteer to be first? Alright, you, come on up. Hi, what's your name?
Steven.
Hi, Steven. So hold up your picture so the class can see it. So what are the ways to deal with bullying that your group came up with?
Don't be a bystander. Be kind to everyone. Speak up. Tell a grown-up if you see bullying. Set a good example.
Those are all really great ideas. Everyone give Steven a round of applause. Thanks to everyone who was brave enough to come up here and share their artwork, as well as the great ideas on how to deal with bullying. Today we have looked at what happens when teens are bullied too much and can't deal with it anymore. We've also looked at some statistics of bullying, as well as practical ways that teens, parents, and educators can deal with this problem. This concludes our fourth and final lesson on bullying. We would like to thank you all for coming. Before you leave today, please take a moment to fill out the evaluation at the front table. This will help us improve our program for future attendees. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.